Hey, hey, hey. Well,
Ohio!
hey,
Konnichiwa! Konbanwa!
Tony. Oh, hey, look, Jay's back, everybody. Gonna be rip run one for sure. Welcome everybody in the chat. Hello. Um,
Hello, hello!
we got updates tonight. We're not gonna cover a new case or even an old settled case. We're just gonna update some of these things we've been following for today. Um, we got a lot, huh, Jay? We've got
We do.
Jesse. We got Morphew. There's activity on that case. We've got the closed case. Well, it's just finalized now of Melissa Turner, the cosplay model, who was up on murder charges. We got an update on Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow on that legal case. And then there's a little bit of scuttlebutt on Jussie Smollett. Of course, we thought that was over with. Did you think that was over with?
I did.
I did think it was over with, but apparently, it's not. They actually let him out of jail after the sentencing and everything, and it appears that he's going to be contesting some of this stuff. That he was released last week from jail. After the appellate court, he contested everything. They let him go free. While his convictions for staging that hate crime is being appealed, the sentencing for it. He left that jail. Two of his brothers went, and also he had he was surrounded when he left the jail, like something was going to happen. He had like 3 huge bodyguards, and they just whisked him away, of course, with no context. But this whole thing is confusing to me because didn't he actually admit that it was staged? Like there's evidence that the whole thing was staged.
I was trying to look through in trying to find the actual, but I'm not. I'm having a hard time finding the actual.
I think you know what, when it went under appeal, I think they actually sealed the legal documents because I haven't been able to find the actual appeal documentation, like what they actually went for. But it's actually it's being reported in articles that the defense lawyers are saying that he was unconstitutionally charged twice for the same crime, and that's what they're going to get it all thrown out for.
Yeah.
It's going to be a technicality. It's not the fact that he didn't do it, which is a little sticking in my craw because, they did actually prove that they thought it was false, Yeah.
Yeah, so it says in late December of last year, jury found that the former Empire actor who is black and gay had paid 2 men to beat him up in hopes of raising his public profile, saying that it was 2 or 3 white men yelling racist and homophobic slurs and told him this is MAGA country before disappearing into the night.
Yep, that's it. And it was apparently that originally the Cook County State's Attorney's Office originally agreed to dismiss that case in 2019 against those false allegations. They said that with alleged false report that claimed bigoted fans of the President Trump had attacked him with a noose and some bleach. But then later, they originally decided not to go after him, and then later brought up charges later that year after a special prosecutor looked into the case amid all of the outrage. In other words, like the press just took hold of it, that it wasn't true. There was so much false about it. There was like this, that, the other thing. It was a big media hype thing all around it. We'll be honest. I mean, he did it for the media hype, and then it got out of control against him. And it was that against him part in the media that alerted the special prosecutor and looked into it. And then last December, they decided to bring the charges forward. Well, here's the thing. Here's the technicality. Can you appeal it if he wasn't actually ever charged the first time?
I would say no, because there's nothing to appeal.
Right. But they were in the process of charging him. So that's what I'm trying to think, because they said they actually had to dismiss it. So when you use the term dismiss, that means like something was in the works, right? Like it looks like maybe they did file something. So I guess it depends on how far they got with the grand jury. I mean, allegedly legal, not being a lawyer here, but from what I've seen and what I have checked out, I mean, that would be a big part of it. It depends on that part of the process the most. So I'm going to be curious. I mean, unfortunately, this one's not in the bucket anymore. It's not in the drawer.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Smollett has climbed out of the filing cabinet and he's active again. We're going to have to be following this one a little bit to find out where it goes with this appeal, because it is interesting, if they're going to get it for that. I mean, it's a technicality, for sure.
Yeah. Well, here's something when we were looking at this article, I've never heard of something called an I bond.
What is it? Explain.
Under the terms of the I bond, Smollett would not have to dig into his pockets to get out of jail, but would only owe money if he skipped his court dates.
Okay, so I guess that's like, oh well, we'll put a bond on it, but you don't have to pay it. But if you do anything wrong, you owe it. Like, is that it?
That's what it sounds like.
Wow.
$150,000 individual bond during. Okay, it's an individual bond. During the appeal. That's why it didn't make any sense, because I'm like, what the hell is an I bond? Well, it's an individual bond, but that's still, I don't know. I guess I don't understand the whole. He doesn't have to pay any money unless he misses the court dates. I thought bonds was to bond you out of jail until your court date, and if you make your court dates and stuff, not you get your money back.
Yes, that's how it normally works. You pay a percentage, right? And that of whatever it is, and it's supposed to guarantee that you get there. But I guess they've got other guarantees on him. Maybe he had to sign some stuff over. I don't know. I guess I have to look into that, because I've never heard of that. Also, it being reported that way. And Shay wants to know if poor people can get that too. I don't know. We got to check it out. It does seem a little weird to me, but besides them saying that the case should have been dropped like it was the first time, they're also saying that actually by going after the second prosecution, they were being unconstitutional, and they are arguing that he was persecuted based on race. And
but was it dismissed with prejudice or without prejudice? Because I remember right, if it's dismissed with prejudice, that means they can retry him. If it's without prejudice, they can't.
All right, and I don't think if it was the other way, it would be mute. This would be turned over already. You wouldn't even have to appeal it, okay? If they found out that they prosecuted when they shouldn't have, it wouldn't even be a process he has to go through. It wouldn't a judge have immediately upon filing, it would be dismissed, period. He would be released, not on bond. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I believe so.
So I'd imagine it was released on dismissed with prejudice.
Right, and which means they can kind of,
come back again, to it if I remember right, it's they can revisit the case if some new evidence has come to light involving the case ahead of that was dismissed.
Right. I think the way that they're saying that they're attacking it as if they had no right to refile. There was no new evidence. There was nothing that came forward. They just changed the media outlet, and they were actually persecuting him, and it's unconstitutional. If that's the route they're going on, it's really not about whether it was with or without prejudice. It's really just about the refiling, whether it was legal or not. That they're saying they don't feel it was within the rights of him, because usually when you decide to dismiss something, it's because there's not enough there to prosecute or whatever. You usually just don't change your mind to prosecute based on the whim of the media and the public opinion.
Yeah.
And so, unless they can prove their case that it wasn't that they were just going after him for whatever, they might have something here. I'm not sure. Legally, I'm not sure if that's going to hold up, even though it may be the popular perception. It may even be what happened, Jay. I don't know if legally it's going to hold water. You know what I mean? Like, I think that when a crime is committed, they have a right to prosecute that crime no matter what. And the only thing you can't do twice is prosecute them twice.
Yeah.
Okay, you're allowed to charge them as many times as you want, as far as I knew. Like, because otherwise, many people would be walking out free. So I don't know.
John said the first DA shouldn't shouldn't have let Juicy small tits off the hook for the first place.
I know. This is true. Juicy small. John, welcome, John. God, I love when you're here. I do. Yeah. There you go.
I wanted to say a big howdy to everybody in the chat. It's nice to be back. Thank you.
Okay, wait a minute. You know you've made it when that vegan teacher invades your live chat to clout chase. Yes.
Oh, I wish the vegan teacher would show up.
Where's that vegan? Did you bring that vegan teacher? No. Okay, well, someday. Yeah. But anyway. Yes, I can tell, John, and I love it because we have that in common. I watched it too. I know what you're talking about. Yes, I do. That was from Omegon's video, actually. Yeah. You get him like I do, John. He's really funny. But anyway, this is what interests me about the case is that, they're going to try to pull all of these constitutional, unconstitutional, pull it in there. And I'm sorry. He's guilty of staging a hate crime. A hate crime is a very serious thing in this country that we're trying to do to prevent these kind of things from happening to people like Jussie Smollett and everyone else. And if he's going to, use the system to fake it, I think he did deserve to be penalized for it because he's kind of making fun of the system they put there to protect him. You know what I mean? And
Well, and did you see what he tried to be pulled off? That he was behind bars for 6 whole days and he could only consume ice water.
Really?
Yeah, he said he did not eat, only consumed ice water, and his lawyers claimed he was at risk in jail because he's immunocompromised and had been receiving death threats due to his high profile.
Yeah. I don't know.
So he's moved to a different jail cell with surveillance and was kept away from other inmates following Monday's motion.
Yep. Yep, I get it. I get it.
This, to me, this is a case of privilege gone wrong.
It is, but like Krabby says, there's too much evil already to get attention by faking it. And I get it. And but I do understand they feel a certain way that he shouldn't be persecuted because, I don't want him absolutely made an example of either. I just want him to be treated like everybody else that would do this. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's a fine line. No matter what you do, it's either you're prosecuting him because he's black or rich or famous, or you just treat him like everybody else. Either way, because he's going to be penalized, they're going to be squawking about it. Either way. And I kind of understand it. I do, but I just don't think it's fair. A technicality when you're guilty of what you did. Why? I don't understand the reason for going for it, unless well, he did actually, and people are going to come for me with this, but it's what I think. If you're going to actually stage a hate crime for the publicity, then why wouldn't you stage and go through all of the hassle of an appeal that ain't right, using all of this to make it bigger than what it is? I guess that's all PR too, I think. And I'm not saying he doesn't have an issue. If he was persecuted unjustly so, if they came at him against what is usually legal protocol or what's the norm, then go for it. But if he's staging this also, I'm going to have some feels. I'm going to say, come on, really? So, but I'll be honest, at this point, I do not know exactly how I feel about it because they're not letting me get the legal documents, and I don't want to weigh in unless I read it in black and white. So they're making me a little uncomfortable. I got to go by what the reporters are reporting, and I can't trust the media. Who could trust the media?
Well, it's the New York Post, so.
Oh gosh, that makes it so much better for me. That's like 5 Guardian articles
exactly,
right? Okay, I get it. But you know how I feel. I would much rather see the legal documents, and I'm still trying to get them, and I will.
Pickle's being naughty.
Pickle's always naughty. What the hell's going on about deleting my chat? Give some people some wrenches. What, come on, people. Just remember, I have the biggest wrench. Don't make me use it.
So let's move on to the cosplay model now.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right. Wait, let me delete. Wait, I gotta go delete Jussie. Bye, Jussie. Bye-bye, Jussie. Okay. Our cosplay model's name is Melissa Turner. Anybody, you guys know about this?
I had heard vaguely heard something about it until I read the article and was like, huh.
All right. Well, she was just, she was up on murder charges for killing her. She's 29 years old, and she was sentenced last Friday to 20 years for second-degree murder of her 25-year-old boyfriend, Matthew Trussler. It's actually, she was convicted last month, and now she's been sentenced. She was waiting on the sentencing. It was very conflicted, this story, because all along she said it was self-defense, that they had a very tumultuous relationship, and that it was in self-defense, basically, that he was attacking her and she killed him. Well, lo and behold, all these people came forward that knew them. They said they did not have a tumultuous relationship. They never saw any arguing or any fighting or anything like that. That Trussler most likely killed him. Yeah, I mean, Trussler was killed while he was drunk by Turner. He wasn't even really, turns out, able to really fight back that much. She had claimed that he attacked her and was choking her and throwing her around, but she stabbed him, and then unfortunately waited many hours before calling 911. And when she called the dispatcher, she told them that she had just walked in and discovered his body cold on the back patio. And she changed her story several times during the time, and then changed it to self-defense at the end for trial. Unfortunately, there's a audio tape from a neighbor.
I can tell you what he says. I can tell you what he says.
Yes, you want to read it? Oh, wait.
Court documents claim surveillance cameras from a nearby home recorded the woman in the home, Melissa Turner, telling her boyfriend Matthew Trussler to stay down and fucking die.
Yeah. So, usually, like, I don't know. Unfortunately, the same audio tape did not pick up an argument or a fight before this or anything. It was running the whole time.
Yep,
so
it didn't pick up anything other than that.
Yeah. So you would think, their argument was that, like, if it could pick up her just saying that, obviously it's going to pick up the fight and all this other going on, which none of that happened. She just, was really pissed off at him for being drunk. And he came home drunk and she stabbed him. Moral of the story, don't come home drunk. Stay out. No, I don't want to make light that he's gone, because his family is very upset, actually. His brother actually testified during the court and told her straight out there in court, you didn't love him. There was no arguments or fight. He was the best thing that ever happened to you. Like, he just laid it right out in court all over the place. Calling her a liar in his testimony right to her face. He was very angry that it. She tried to say before that she loved him and she didn't want to do that to him, and it was just self-defense. But they're saying absolutely it could not have been if there's not a fight. Like, what was it? A silent fight? Was he stealthy? He was drunk. How stealthy could he be? Like, I don't know. It didn't go her way.
Thing here, where's it at? Okay, so she says, a tearful Turner during the sentencing, said that I loved him and I didn't want to do that to him. The last thing he wanted, he always tried to hide his drinking, his mental health, and how depressed he was, and tried to hide it from everyone. And the last thing he would want for the world to know any of it.
Mm-hmm.
Until the brother says this is not a story about a poor innocent girl. This is a woman who intentionally isolated and manipulated a good kid away from his loving, supporting family.
Mm-hmm. And that's what he was saying, that the relationship, if there was anything wrong with it, it was that she actually wanted him all to herself, didn't want him interacting with anybody else in the family, his friends. He was becoming more and more isolated against her. I mean, with her and against everybody else. And that was more her, that all happened with her. So, yeah. Nope, she got 20 years. I don't know if she's going to be able to appeal this one, but I guess most people that go away for murder do try to appeal because they're really long, long sentences. But I don't know what they're going to find on this one. I mean, there's tape. I mean, usually when there's tape, that's, you know, that was the nail in the coffin for the sentencing and for the guilty. I mean, the trial itself didn't take that long. Jay, did you see how quick it was? Like, it was hours, people, not days, not weeks. It was hours.
Yeah,
This
what
trial
was it, like 9 hours?
slammed up. Less than, actually. I think the fight, like, that was all the preliminaries and everything.
Josie's was 9 hours.
Right. This
Or
one was
Jussie's.
3.5 hours or something like that.
Something like that.
Like, done. Like, they were done with her. Like, that's a defense came up and she was going to speak, and she did go on the stand. She spoke for herself. And maybe that's why it was so quick. I don't know. Well, they usually say if you're up for murder, don't take the stand, right? Isn't that what the defense lawyers say?
Right. Keep
your mouth shut. That's it. And we know that from many, many more murder trials that we've been watching and all this past serial killer stuff that we've been looking into. Don't take the stand. People don't. But she did. And then all the witnesses came up and went, that ain't the way it happened. Boom, boom, boom. This is it. And then, damn. And then a month later, here's the sentence. I mean, she was guilty a month ago, but now the sentencing's come through. She got 20 years. So
yeah, they were asking for 35, but the judge gave her 20.
Yeah, well, maybe that was in the statutes too. Maybe he didn't have the exception to make it the max, because 35 is, or life,
Yeah.
I think the inebriation might have had something to do with it. That the possibility that it could have been something going on in the past, but still no argument on the tape. Only her standing over the body telling them, fucking die already. Like, come on. That's pretty cold. You're taking too long. Like, even in death, like, you're pissing me off, dude. Like, you're taking too long. So it just kind of hit me the wrong way for sure. I don't know. So let's do it. You got another one for us. You want to talk about Daybell, and then we'll finish up.
Let's talk about some Chad and Lori.
Yeah. That's a mess. Are you all in the chat are familiar with this one? I'm sure it's been going on.
We've talked about this one a couple times. Okay, so on a closed hearing held Friday, there was a closed hearing held Friday involving the Lori Vallow Daybell, but it was sealed. While we don't know what came of the hearing, 2 orders were logged for the day. It comes as a decision. It comes as a decision could be made if she went. That sentence makes no sense to me. So mental health professionals deemed her incompetent per trial, and she's getting treatment at the state mental health hospital since. Chad Daybell's lawyer has also asked his case to be tried separately from his wife's case. The hearing for that next motion is for next Friday. And Daybell's attorney has until March 23rd to argue his case for dismissal. That's done and passed.
Yes, it is. But the judge, the arguments are all in, but the judge has not weighed in on it.
Yep. So Daybell and his wife Lori are charged with the deaths of her 2 children, JJ and Tylee. And he's also being charged for his murder of his former wife, Tammy Daybell.
Yeah, that's also a separate case on him that's going to be thing. But they're not splitting these 2 up, like, which is very concerning to me, because she's still in the mental hospital, incompetent, and she can't come to trial, which means we can't go to trial if they don't split the trial.
That's what gets me. I want to know why they have what it is that they haven't found her capable of standing trial. That's the one that's always bugged me, is like, why?
Well, she does believe that people that don't believe like her are zombies, and she is kind of like believing in this whole religion and thought that she was like a god. Like, so maybe that, Jay? Like, she's a bit. It could be that she's a little nutty.
But with that though, I mean, you still there is still a sensibility of right and wrong. I mean, to find her incompetent in the trial, they've got to believe that she believes that she didn't do anything wrong.
Exactly. And that's kind of what Shay's alluding to here. I think, I don't want to be mean, but she wasn't insane this whole span. That's true. She wasn't.
Yeah, there's to me, this the whole insanity thing. I really wish we could get a hold of that and find out why exactly they think she's not capable
We're working on it. They've
Yeah.
got to actually release it. Usually they hold this stuff for a month or two and then they will release certain files. Because that one has to do with mental health, there's a good chance we'll never see it. But
And
maybe they'll be reporting in one of the other motions about it that we will be able to piece
that
together.
Krabby's got a good question. Said, "How does one prove one doesn't know right from wrong?" And that is the thing about
That's the thing. Yeah.
about the mental. They used to
The
call it.
incapacity.
Yeah, they
Incapacity.
used to
Yeah.
call it the
Unable.
insane defense, but it's no longer called that
It,
anymore.
it it's called incapacity. You're unable to do it. Like
Yeah,
it's just not having the capacity
and
to have
it's
right and
why
wrong.
very
Yeah.
few and far between
Mm-hmm.
have actually succeeded with that
Mm-hmm.
because it is so hard to substantiate. Usually, in a case like that, it's when they find perpetrators not guilty by reason of insanity is what it used to be called, is they were usually either somehow mentally incompetent. Well, that's not the right word. Mentally challenged or young kids. Um,
Mm-hmm.
someone that doesn't have a um, higher brain function.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's some kind of mental illness there. Usually,
Right.
those are about the only ones that ever get it. So the
Right.
fact that she is still being considered incompetent makes you kind of
Exactly.
wonder
Mm-hmm.
what exactly is going on. Because I could pull bullshit out of my ass,
You could, and
and
yeah,
but
Shay.
to be believable, that's the hard thing.
Yeah, well, Shay even brings out the point. Mother God thought she was a god too, but she didn't actually
Yeah.
go out and murder anybody. But maybe it's the zombie thing that made her do it. I'm not sure, but she did believe that the children had turned into zombies, soulless zombies walking the earth with no plan. Yeah, I don't know. The why and everything is quite perplexing, as
Hmm.
to what they're actually thinking. And we do know that she's got lawyers involved. Well, there was a whole mess over there that we reported on last time about calling the church and the church attorneys and all this stuff, and
Hmm.
her lawyer making a big mess. There's going to be plenty in this case to pick through after it's done as far as appeals. I'll tell you, there's a whole bunch of wacky stuff going on. But the fact that they won't separate the two, Daybell and Vallow, I mean, Daybell is obviously guilty of his part of it. Why can't we charge him for that while we wait for Vallow? Because in this state, it's not that she won't serve trial. She will eventually. They just sit there until she's able, because she
Yeah.
doesn't get a pet. She doesn't get to say not guilty by reason of insanity. It's just you can't serve trial yet. That's it. That's all you get. You don't get to take it into a not guilty or freedom or mental hospital forever and not have to deal with this. She
Yeah.
will have to face charges eventually. It'll just sit there forever until they can get her. Because that's how that state runs it.
Yeah, and the only way I can see the reason why they haven't they're why it hadn't been separated up until this point is cost wise.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only reason I can see why they were trying to charge him the same. But his lawyer, this is actually smart. His lawyer trying to get the case separated from Lori, because in that situation they can try to push everything onto her.
They can, and I think that's what
Yeah.
the prosecution is trying to avoid. The he said, she said. If they have them both there together, it's a little bit easier to
Yeah.
put them as complicit and make it more of a joint effort, just visually, even optically, so to speak. It's gonna be easier to prosecute, I think, with them both there. And I would, if I was the prosecution, I'd be fighting for it too. But just like you said, the defense is going to want the opposite, because it's going to be easier to get
Hmm.
Chad off with Lori in the mental hospital. Christola said she was brainwashed by Chad, I believe, and he's mentally ill. I don't know if you
If
all
I
have
remember
already
right, it
said
was
that
the
or
other
not.
way around. I believe
I,
Lori's the one that pulled Chad into it, wasn't it?
yeah, into the crazy part of it. But Chad,
Yeah.
actually, she was mesmerized by Chad as far as religion and a preacher. Like she did. She found Chad and then followed him. So she was mesmerized by him. But as far as the crazy part of it, um, they kind of fed off each other, I think, actually, Crystal. I think it's a little bit of tit for tat, because they are definitely two people that, once those two crazy conspiracy type attitudes got together, they just fed off each other into, like, the wrong way, extremely. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say who was worse, actually, but they both had really strange, you know, ideas about how things should be. Although Chad's were a little more socially acceptable, I guess, on some levels, than some of the stuff that Lori's been talking about lately. Anyway, about the zombies and being a god and all of this. But she was mesmerized by him. He was the, he was the enticer for her, in the beginning. I don't know how that turned, but it's quite the interesting story. It definitely is. It's worth looking into more, Christola, because it's a good point. Yeah.
So this is going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on, because it's going to be interesting to see how this case falls out.
Exactly, because like illegally, it's like a hot mess. There were so many, and also just as far as like intrigue and everything, there's so many other murders and people who died. Like her ex-husband died, his ex-wife died, the brother died. Like, everybody's getting killed in here. Like, people are dropping around like flies, and whether it's connected or not. But Chad, he's up for his ex-wife's murder. Also, he was charged, although Lori was not charged for her husband's. Okay, but the brothers, that's another thing. Nobody's being charged on that one either. So it's a mess. Like, it's definitely interesting. When this one gets down to being in the closed file, it's going to make a good review a year or so later, because people are going to be like, all that happened in one case. We're like, yup, all that happened in one case.
Like, wait a minute, hold my beer, I got more to tell you.
Not only like it's taking forever too, like years and years. Like, they're going to say it took 5 years to settle, 5, 6 years. Yes, it did. And we had to follow it the whole time. Well, that's on their own. Oh, for sure. All right, so the last one that I have is a little more involved. Unless there's more you want to talk about.
No, there's not much there.
Yeah, there's not more. Just that, they're still having, and they're just, and the moving of the venue and trying to dismiss it. Did you mention? Yes, they did. They want to move the venue from where it is to if it does go through to another, and they were successful at getting them to agree to do that, I believe. But I don't know where yet. You can just call me Claire, Shay. It's always just Claire, or you could still call me Bear if you want. I'm just not gonna be typing it. Well, it's my nickname. It don't matter. Yeah, because they knew they'd find out what this is the brother. Okay, they knew they'd find out what Alex did, and in my opinion, they had his death plan too. You think like I do, Christola. I'm like thinking they're all connected. You don't get like 3-4 people die in the same like murder story and think like, I guess I followed too many serial killers. I'm trying to think like they must all be connected somehow. It's too coincidental. I don't know. I don't know. You can't hit it twice. Oh, that's sweet, Juju. You want to hit it twice. That's really nice. That's a nice thought. She wants to hit the like button twice. I often feel like that when it's a good creator that I want to watch.
Now this next case. This is the case that me and Claire go back and forth with all the time.
Yeah, he just got back, and I had to pick the one case we're gonna fight about, right? Because because it's true, I'm just like that. Just am, I can't help it. But there was some actual movement on Morphew. Barry Morphew has filed to dismiss the charges. Based on the last time that we talked, right, Jay? We talked about how there was all of this. They were contesting all of the evidence and things, and there was like things that weren't brought up, and there was a whole big counter motion put in place about the DNA, about them not coming forward with the name of the codex recipient, the name that bounced back, not being honest about, not coming forth with certain interviews and things. And they started tearing apart like the 141 page, I believe, warrant, like the most documented evidential warrant I've ever seen, like put down on paper. And they started tearing it apart piece by piece. His attorney. Let's just be clear. Barry Morphew has excellent attorneys. Okay,
he does.
They are.
I'll give him that.
Excellent. I'll give him.
His
It didn't.
attorneys are
Yeah,
not dumb.
they are really going over everything, the best that they can. They're pulling everything out everywhere that they can, and they're doing like if I had a if I was a defense attorney, or if I needed a defense attorney, this is what I would be doing. I mean, taking that fight before we even get to trial. Get rid of every damn thing that you can. Smartest move you can make. You get rid of everything. You want to fight the least in the courtroom. You want to get rid of everything beforehand. So you get this big paper battle, this big battle of wits beforehand between the prosecution and the defense, and muck up the whole court system with all this paper back and forth, motions and motions back and forth, because you want to get rid of all of it, that you can, because the end goal is not to get into that courtroom. You don't want to be in front of 12 people who get to decide what's going to happen to you. You definitely want to see if there's anything you can do to get rid of it first. I mean, that's the smart, smart move on these guys.
Before we go any farther in this, because there's going to be some contention here between me and Claire, I do want to make it 100% clear. I do think Morphew did it.
Yeah,
I think Barry did it, but the evidence to me doesn't stand up.
Yeah. And
what we're about to talk about
is going to prove it. He's very happy
case on this.
he's ecstatic, and I'm going to give it to him, because what thrilled me about this was, face it, people, I'm a legal nerd, right? I read legal briefs for breakfast while I'm, reading that, drinking my coffee, spitting my coffee on my laptop while I'm listening to Omegon or Mocking Media or some other snarky so-and-so on the internet. That's how I spend my morning, or actually late afternoons lately, because everybody knows I'm not up in the morning anymore. But anyway, that's just how it is now. Well, that's me, right? So what fascinated me about this case is 141-page arrest warrant, legally documented with every picture and DNA and all that. I was salivating. I was over the moon with excitement that they were this detailed. Yes, until Jay came along, and then Jay's like, Claire, he probably did do it, but they're not going to be able to prove it because this is messy. This is messy. And I'm like, Jay, it's 141 pages of good stuff. He goes, Claire, it's 141 pages. But it ain't good stuff. And he's right. There are some serious issues. There are serious issues. There are.
Every single bit of that 131-page affidavit is all circumstantial.
Let me just tell you. I don't get to say Jay's right often, because I'm usually beating his butt about coffee and everything else all over the place. But on this, he's right. It's messy. They have actual good points here, and they are probably going to make good headway on getting this at least getting most of this evidence tossed. Okay. And Jay's got one other concern, and before he smashes me with it, let me bring it up, that there is no body yet. There's no body. She's still missing. Since Mother Day last year, she's still missing. There's no body. There's no evidence of a struggle. There's no blood. There's nothing. Nothing.
Now, I want to make it clear. You can convict without a body. Yeah. But there has to be some kind of evidence stating
without the body
happened to the body or to the person, and there's nothing here for this case.
No, and I get that. I really do. Because you have to at least prove the how. If you can't prove that it happened, there's the body, that's what happened. You have to at least have a solid enough scenario as to how it happened and evidence to back it up. There's no blood, there's no nothing, there's no evidence of a struggle. She's just gone. Gone. Okay. Now, is there a lot of circumstantial? Jay would have to agree there's circumstantial up the wazoo. This man is carrying garbage bags full of stuff to a dumpster repeatedly over and over again from a hotel just a little while. He acted squirrely as hell. He changed his story. He kept going with whatever evidence they threw out of him. He built a story around it immediately, over and over again. And even Jay will have to admit, through what we know about how behavioral science works and all of that we've learned through covering our serial killers, and Jay has educated me well, that's some bullshit right there. That's some bullshit right there. That proves right there that
that's
he is
why
trying
I say
to
I do
manipulate
believe he did
the scenario.
it.
Right.
That's why I said I do believe he did it. They're just going to have a really hard time proving it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've seen so far is not going to work.
It's not. I know. You know what? You know what, Jay? I don't even think. Like, listen, see, people. The couple has reunited because I don't even think we're on the different pages anymore about this one. Because you see, it's nice. This just goes to prove you when things get a little tight, take a break. You see this? Jay was away for a little while. We're good. We're even on the same page with Morphew right here. No, I jest. But about these, I think we are heading towards a happy medium here, Jay. I really do. Mm-hmm. We'll have to find another case to fight about. Because this one, well, let me get down to what he's actually saying. Let me read you the background of what these fantastic lawyers. It's not that long, people. It's only 9 pages. I'll go kind of quick for you. Really turns out to be only like 6 or 7 when you get down to it. But the factual background of these from his attorneys are the multiple and continuing hearings on D17 through D28, which are the evidentials, have revealed substantial evidence that law enforcement personnel testified falsely, and the prosecutor presented this false testimony in pleadings and at pretrial hearings on key issues related to the litigation. This conduct has destroyed Mr. Morphew's right to a fair trial. When these witnesses testify at trial, Mr. Morphew will have the right and obligation to point out to the jury that in this very case, on that very witness stand, the witnesses told falsehoods in an attempt to cover up the truth about the investigation. It will be imperative not only to point out the factual reasonable doubt, but to raise doubts about the law enforcement officers presenting the prosecution's evidence. Even without an impact on trial, the falsehoods are prejudicing Mr. Morphew's pretrial litigation. He asked this court to dismiss this case because a fair trial cannot be held under the circumstances of these falsehoods and cover-ups. This court heard this evidence and has undoubtedly identified for itself falsehoods in the evidential hearings before the court. A partial list of some of the topics of false testimony include reason for Barry Morphew's arrest on May 5th of 2021, falsifying the CBI report, support for Mr. Morphew's arrest on May 5th of 2021, reasons for removal of primary investigator CBI agent Joseph Cahill from the Morphew case and the Major Crimes Unit, presenting unsupported falsehood, undisclosed testimony regarding the CODIS matches at the preliminary hearing to convince the trial judge to find probable cause and keep Mr. Morphew from being released on a no bond hold or an extraordinarily high bond. Prosecution requested a $10 million bond. Filing pleadings with false information. These falsehoods and cover-ups are already prejudicing Mr. Morphew's ability to litigate his motion to dismiss. They will inevitably find their way into trial as the credibility of these prosecutors and law enforcement officers is challenged. Legal authority. Ultimately, the district attorney is responsible for the presentation of false and misleading testimony. Her attorneys effectively endorse the conduct by presenting witness after witness who testified falsely. As an example, the DA herself worked to remove the primary CBI investigator from the case because he would not testify regarding the CODIS matches according to her script, which was crafted to mislead the court as to the significance of the CODIS matches. Therefore, the case precedent related to the prosecutorial misconduct applies to the circumstances here, where the prosecution has put forth theories before this court and presented witnesses to support those theories, even though the prosecution and often the witness know that the theory is belied by the actual facts and the evidence presented is not true. Further, the prosecution's failure to disclose the false statements directly implicates the credibility of the witnesses, making such disclosures mandatory. And then it gives us a whole bunch of precedences of Wary Kane and some other things, that actually relate to the findings in these where they did dismiss. Mm-hmm. Contrary to what one of the prosecutors stated at a previous pretrial hearing, the prosecutor's job is not to lock people up. Okay, and then they give us the definition. The prosecutor is the representative not of an ordinary party to a controversy, but of a sovereignty whose obligation to govern impartially is as compelling as its obligation to govern at all, and whose interest, therefore, in a criminal prosecution is not that it shall win a case, but that justice shall be done. As such, he is, in a peculiar and very definite sense, the servant of the law, the twofold aim of which is that guilt shall not escape or innocence suffer. He may prosecute with earnestness and vigor, indeed, he should do so, but while he may strike hard blows, he is not at liberty to strike foul ones. It is as much his duty to refrain from improper methods calculated to produce a wrongful conviction as it is to use every legitimate means to bring about a just one. That is from Berger versus United States. The 14th Amendment cannot tolerate a state criminal conviction obtained by the knowing use of false evidence. A prosecutor's deliberate misrepresentation in support of a false theory violates due process. Oh, it's all the precedences. I'm trying to find the sentence without the precedents in it. Okay, there we go. It's almost a whole page of precedent there, Jay. My God. All right. Furthermore, due process is similarly offended if the state, although not soliciting false evidence, allows it to go uncorrected when it appears. Regardless of the lack of intent to lie on the part of the witness, the prosecutor apprise must the court when he knows that his witness is giving testimony that is substantially misleading. The prosecutor is charged with the duty not only to seek convictions, but also to see that justice is done. In this position as a public officer, he owes a duty of fair dealing to the accused and the candor of the courts. Oh, boy. Napa Supra is one of the seminal cases concerning the prosecution's responsibility to correct false testimony when it is presented. In Nafye, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that when the assistant state's attorney did nothing to correct the false testimony of a witness, the defendant was denied due process of law in violation of the 14th Amendment to the federal Constitution. Colorado state courts and the U.S. Supreme Court have affirmed time and again the fundamental nature of the prosecutor's obligation to the integrity of the process. A prosecutor has a duty to refrain from using improper methods to produce a conviction. Prosecutors have a higher ethical responsibility than other lawyers because of their dual role as both the sovereign's representative in the courtroom and as an advocate for justice. They must make sure that justice to be done in every case and not necessarily that the prosecution win. That's from People versus McBride. People versus Nadim. By endorsing repeated, apparently deliberate false statements to the court, the prosecution has breached the most fundamental of duties he owed to the court, Mr. Morphew, and the entire system of justice. Jones versus the District of Court in and for 21st Judicial District. Use of these false statements has also violated the U.S. Constitution. Okay. And the Colorado Constitution. The false testimony in this case has been introduced at pretrial hearings, and the false statements by the prosecution have been both written in pretrial litigation and stated in court. However, that does not make the conduct any less reprehensible. The falsities have still been made in furtherance of the prosecution's efforts to secure a wrongful conviction. There is no free pass to present false testimony just because a jury is not involved. The fact that a witness has testified falsely at a pretrial court hearing is relevant and admissible at trial as an impeachable offense. The significance of the impeachable evidence in determining the outcome of a criminal prosecution often matches that of substantive or exculpatory evidence. The jury's estimate of the truthfulness and reliability of a given witness may well be determinative of guilt or innocence, and it is upon such subtle factors as the possible interest of the witness in testifying falsely that a defendant's life or liberty may depend. The fact that a person associated with law enforcement has told an untruth at a pretrial hearing in that very case is highly material, exculpatory, impeaching evidence that can dramatically affect the juror's perception of that witness's bias, motive, and interests. Murder trial reversed where convicted co-defendant testified without and that's from the Napure Supra, without clarification or correction from the prosecutor that he had received no consideration from the district attorney. In Compare de Luzia versus the People, another Colorado state statute, reversal was required because the prosecutor failed to disclose that co-defendant witnesses had charges dismissed in exchange for testifying against the defendant. The pretrial false testimony and the prosecutor's reliance upon it continue to be profoundly prejudicial to the defense. It gives this court a biased view of the issues, prejudices Mr. Morphew's presentation of his claim that the prosecution has violated the due process clause, and prejudices his motion for dismissal and other sanctions. There is a reasonable likelihood that because it has to now be proven at trial, it will end up affecting the judgment of the jury. From Giglio versus the United States, for purposes of reversing a conviction, evidence is material if there is a reasonable likelihood that it affected the judgment of the jury. Many of the same questions have been asked since August 2021. How can prosecutors be allowed to lie without consequence? Is this how the criminal justice system works? But this conduct is not just and cannot be rationalized to Mr. Morphew or his daughters. To force Mr. Morphew to continue to carry this boulder up the trial mountain, weighed down by the ultimate consequence of being sentenced to life imprisonment without parole if wrongly convicted, by his daughter's emotional welfare and by his financial resources in the face of the endemic misconduct orchestrated by the prosecution, is wrong. Mr. Morphew's right to a fair trial on the charges has been obliterated, and there is no way to clear the path to a fair trial. Man, it's strong. Mr. Morphew makes this motion and all other motions and objections in this case, whether or not specifically noted at the time of making the motion or objection, as a continuing objection based upon the following grounds and authorities: due process, trial by jury, right to counsel, equal protection, equal access to and administration of justice, right to defend life, cruel and unusual punishment, confrontation, compulsory process, right to remain silent, and right to appeal clauses of the federal and Colorado constitutions and the 1st, 4th, 6th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 14th Amendments to the United States Constitution, and Article 2, Sections 3, 6, 7, 10, 11, 16, 18, 20, 23, 25, and 28 of the Colorado Constitution. Mr. Morphew cross-references and incorporates by reference all pleadings filed for or to be filed in this case and case law cited therein and at oral arguments, whereas Mr. Morphew asked this court to dismiss all charges. Respectfully submitted, March 9th, 2022. Wow, they were lit. Jay, I don't know. What do you think?
There's a couple things that really stuck out for me on this one. One was the false arrest, and then lying about why they arrested him in the report. So that right there is for me would be, okay, this is not right, this is wrong, something needs to happen on this. But the one thing I've always held was the DNA evidence. I mean, we talked about this before. The DNA evidence in that 131-page affidavit, there was nothing about the DNA evidence.
They left it out. Yeah. And then when and reason being is that there was a CODIS match from the one sample taken near the glove box of the Jeep. All right, there was a match on that sample to a person in another state that Arizona, was guilty. Right, that is in the codex for sex crimes, and that name was not put forward, nor was that evidence put in there. You can't just leave one sample out, like you just can't do that. And then it gets worse. Not only did they leave it out, when the defendant's attorneys find out about it, and they question them on it, they decide to lie about it. And they actually got rid of the one person who was in charge of the whole thing at the time, because he would not say, he wanted to just tell the truth, I guess.
Yeah.
And
Well, it says because he
dismissed
would not,
him.
Yeah, he wouldn't. So CBI agent Joseph Cahill, once a co-lead investigator on the case, was booted from the probe because he would not testify regarding the CODIS match according to the district attorney's script, which was crafted to mislead the court as the significance of the CODIS matches.
Exactly. And she wanted him to just spin it a little bit. I don't think they actually asked him to lie. I don't want to believe they did. Let's put it that way. I don't know what happened. But I think that he was asked to spin a narrative that he could not swallow. He just wanted it all out there. And then they argued and they just got rid of him rather than deal with it. And that makes them look really bad. Whatever the real story there, the optics of that are probably going to get this
not
case
look good.
dismissed.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
the lying about the reasonings, the false testimonies, the omission of the CODIS matches. It looks like it's one of those cases where they have their eye on somebody and they refuse to look at somebody else. So they're going to find whatever they can to convict this one person because that's who they want it to be. That's who they believe it is. When
there's
in
a
fact,
lot invested there.
yeah,
A lot.
when in fact we've seen it before where they don't focus on somebody else and it turns out to be someone else.
Yeah,
But they're so
unfortunately.
focused on it was this one person that did it. They toss away everything. It's like, nope, that doesn't because he didn't. What doesn't involve this guy, so it can't be true.
And you have a very valid point and concern there, because when you do focus that much, you are optically, it could go either way. I mean, it looks like you're just railroading him, especially if you can find anything. Now, no case is perfect, right? No case is perfect. That's the truth. Crap happens. Look, paper errors, filing errors, misspelled, anything, okay, can be used for appeal. But when you have evidentiary pre-trial issues like this, it doesn't look good for actually going all the way through trial, in my opinion. But let me just tell you, I gotta say that was one hell of a well-written motion to dismiss. That was, for me, and I think Morphew's guilty, and I don't want to believe a damn thing the defense says. But when they wrote like that, they absolutely painted the picture that if this trial goes forward, he's getting railroaded. They got more precedent. I couldn't even read all the precedent from 2 pages of that. There was that much precedent that they have to prove that this should not go forward. And I could see the judge reading that and going, legally, I see this is going to be a big mess, and maybe I don't want to spend the next 10 years fighting it. Maybe,
like I said,
maybe we should let that go.
I've stated from day one, I do believe he did it, but they are going to have a hell of a time proving it. And this right here just shows that they don't have what they need to prove that he did it.
Right. And it's unfortunate. Just reading that, though, it's just that he does have some excellent attorneys. Now, I don't think that, the prosecution, I'm not saying that they're not good. Obviously, they tried to throw everything at him that they could, the way that they evidenced that arrest warrant before they actually arrested him. I think they knew they were going to have trouble to begin with. And maybe, as far as them saying that why he was arrested and not, they put a lot of work into that arrest warrant. So, I don't know if that part of it is actually going to hold water, that part right there. The other evidence that they're finding that is corrupted, that they withheld, that they didn't tell the truth about, like that could be a big issue. The leaving of the head investigator for the reasons that they're stating, if that can be proved, if they can actually prove that that's why he's gone, that's a big thing. But remember, this is only what they're saying. They haven't proved it yet. Okay. It's only what they're saying. That's the reason he left. But he seems to be saying the same kind of thing, right, Jay? In his statements is kind of, without saying it, he's saying it in a way, So, that's right, Krabby. It doesn't mean they're not guilty. As she said, it's called reasonable doubt for a reason, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean they're not guilty. And I get that. I get that, That's it. it's just it's concerning to me because I really do think he did it. I've been following it all along, thinking he did it. I know allegedly these are only charges, and this is opinion. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a paralegal. I don't have anything to do with anything. I just have a love of reading legal documents and legal cases and following them for the weird intricacies that I can find, the things that are abnormal about stuff, and the things that could lead to new precedents. And I'm wondering if there's any here that'll lead to some new laws and some new things. But actually here it just seems like violation what is already existing law in place, like that you have to tell the other side what kind of evidence you have. You're not allowed to hide things, people. You're supposed to lay it all out there so they can fight against it, or stuff like this happens, but anyway, we did that nicely. We did all of those cases, wrapped them all up in a bow in 60 minutes flat. Look at that. I don't know. You want to argue some more about Morphew? We're not even arguing about Morphew anymore. It's like sad. It's a sad day. We have to find something else to go tit for tat about, because I think we're on the same page with this one. I think it's going to get dismissed. What do you think, Jay?
I think this will be one of those dismissed without prejudice ones.
Yeah, you think they'll come forward and do it again? Really?
Yeah, I think they may just have to postpone.
Postpone the trial?
Excuse me.
Now,
they may have to hold off while they try to collect more evidence.
Oh, you mean well, but so you think the judge could just say, okay, we're going to move forward, and then the prosecution will ask for time? Yeah, could be interesting.
There could be the prosecution may ask for more time, which the defense, if they're smart, would be like, well, then release him. I think he is out though, isn't he? Isn't he out on bond?
Yeah, he's out. He got out a while ago. They finally he's the one that had the device on that can't be picked up where he lives, and he has to drive to another town to think. I mean, it's all whacked. Like, you're supposed to be under surveillance 24/7, and the device doesn't even pick up where he lives. And he's also the one with the girlfriend that went back to the original house and broke in.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. There's a lot here, people. Yeah. Like I always do have the playlist down there for you to like go back and check, and most of them have what we're covering in the title, so you can find the rest of Morphew in there if you'd like. But there's a lot. There's a lot. And Jay, did I just see you actually dissing mint chocolate chip and coffee now?
No, I said I don't like mint chocolate chip. I said, why would you ruin a good chocolate chip with mint?
Oh, okay. And well, you be with Xylee on that. We're not even allowed to mention it when she's around. It's like, but yeah, looks like you got pickle upset. I don't
I've seen that.
I think I would be careful when you go back to the library. I think you might have a target on you right now. But anyway, that's fun. Well, if anyone doesn't have any questions about any of these, I think that we're going to wrap it up. I'll give you a minute to think about that while I ask Jay, what are we doing for the rest of the week, Mr. Serial?
Well, tomorrow morning I have Cults and Conspiracies at 7:30. I'm going to be talking about why I choose to cover cults and conspiracies and why I do what I do.
Okay.
Friday we have Chris will be back. He did confirm today that Chris will be doing Hereticals again for Six Pack. So Chris will be back with us on Friday. I believe that is still at 6 o'clock, because I don't think he's hit the Australian daylight savings time yet.
No.
I think they've still got a couple, like a week or two.
Right.
And then Sunday, I don't remember what time we decided, Claire.
Well, it's definitely got to be well before I do Black Mirror at 9 o'clock. So I think it was
7 o'clock.
9 before 7. I think it was around 7.
Yeah.
That's when we'll do your half of legal. You'll do your true serial, right?
Well, true serial will be Sunday this week at 7 p.m.
Okay.
So.
I know.
And then for those of you guys wondering, I have begun the research for April's Jean Benet month.
Yeah. That's going to be hot, and we'll be bouncing back from channel to channel and taking care of that. It's a big case.
It is a big case. Lots of information to go through. I mean, just the note alone, I could see taking 2 episodes. Just going over the note itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be a lot of information with the JonBenet case.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a big case. It is one of them that's gripped the nation type of thing. And still 25 years later, it's still, what's going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like I said, April will be JonBenet month. With True Serial and whatnot. So we're looking forward to that one. And somebody keeps yelling at me that I need to work on Lake and Ing. That'll be probably will be in March. So they can go. You know who you are.
No, it's gonna be good. Oh, if you're gonna send us stuff, that's great, Shay. We love when you send us stuff. Just send us whatever you like on any of them.
Yeah,
I
if
do
you
have
got
some
JonBenet
things.
stuff, send
Yeah.
it my way.
I do have some things on Morphew already. Like the dismissal I just read. Like I do have some of those legal documents already, but yeah. Anything, especially on that Vallow. If you got anything on there, I think it's sealed. I've been looking and looking.
Oh,
but
there's
anything.
one. Jujubee's got a question. It says, if you could know the answer to any cold case, which one would you pick?
I know what mine is.
What's yours?
Jack the Ripper. I need to know what happened to him. I need to know if he came to America and started all over as somebody else. I need to know if he went to Germany. I need to know if he went to France. I need to know if he just died like 3 days after that murder. Like, I need to know. Jack the Ripper. It's Jack the Ripper for me. Yep.
Probably.
Good question, Juju.
Yeah, that is a good question because there's a lot of cold cases I'd like to know the answer to. Some of them aren't even cold. I mean, they're cold, but they're not cold. Like the Delphi murders.
Pickle wants to know Martha Moxley. Okay. Shay wants to know Black Dahlia. Okay.
And the Black Dahlia. When I do Black Dahlia, it is not going to be.
I was just looking at that. I want to do Black Dahlia so bad. I might start on that next week. I'm thinking about it. Let's see.
Yeah, we can talk Black Dahlia.
But actually, next week starts April. So actually, we're going to be on JonBenet. Black Dahlia may be till May because I want to give you as much time for JonBenet, like as many sessions as we can in the same week. Especially with the new time schedule that you have. Marilyn Monroe, Paula, that's a good one. Because there's
everybody
all
knows what happened to Marilyn.
No, everybody thinks they know what happened to Marilyn.
It's a mob hit. Everybody knows this.
Okay, we found our new case to argue about. Thank you, Paula. You brought the zip back to the show. Thank you. There, we're not even going to go one show without arguing about something. Here we go.
God, I think. To be honest with you, I want to say the Killing Fields or the Atlanta child murders.
Oh yeah, both
because I don't believe that the guy that they caught. I'm with the governor. I don't think the guy that they have for the Atlanta child murders was the guy. Now, did he kill somebody? Yeah, absolutely. I believe there was an adult male. I can't remember the name that he killed, but they linked him in that killing with the child murders, and I don't think that's. I honestly don't think that was part of it. So I don't think they have the Atlanta child murder, but the Killing Fields. And the the Jersey Shore killers too.
The Jersey Shore please. That's a little close to home, but maybe we should go into that one too, because everyone in Murder Minions does like to do the unsolved, which I think. I don't know about you, Jay, but I think that's where we should focus our first Murder Minions is on an unsolved case, like we are with Bonet. And during this month of April, while we're discussing this on YouTube between our two channels, the JonBenet, we will also be doing a roundtable, I think, on JonBenet. Get you guys in there talking about it, in direction and everything, and I think that would be fun. So on that note, if you have not joined the Discord yet, to get into the Murder Minions rooms, so that we can discuss all these in calls and in conversation by chat. You don't necessarily have to be in the phone call. You don't have to talk. You can actually answer by chat if you'd like. But please contact me or Jay by DM, and we'll get your Discord ID and get you in there before this all starts in April. Jujubee, John Bonet is the one she's looking at. It's a hard question, isn't it? But her switches, but John Bonet is up there. And so that's good. We can get that one off your list, hopefully, by going over it a little bit. Yeah. Not that we're going to be able to solve it, because, I mean, come on. What are we going to
Delphi, the Atlanta Child, and the Killing Fields are probably my top three, because the Killing Fields, they believe it's more than one person. So.
And John, I can't wait for tomorrow night. I wanted to, not to switch it up on you, Jay, but I got to, because John, tomorrow night, Amber Heard, Johnny Depp, I don't even put Amber on the thumbnails anymore. It's Johnny Depp updates. Okay. We're going to be covering that. We're going to go over this evidence thing and this problem. It's going to be the whole show and this whole rescheduling. So that's going to be tomorrow night at 10 o'clock with Mandy, as usual. We're going to deep dive back into depth with those updates again. There's plenty of coverage on the Umbrella Guy did today, on Legal Bites did today. I know the podcast is going to be coming out. It's going to be all about it. It's all over Twitter to get it, but we're definitely going to be talking about it. I hope you can join us, John, because you'll find it interesting. And yes, I agree. Seriously, that judge needs to tell Heard that if they don't turn their stuff over by the deadline, he's going to do bench warrants or sanction, as he should, because the fact that this trial has to be moved, may get moved again. I don't know if they've actually moved it yet. I know there is talk. I have to double check. I've been watching the feeds and I haven't seen an actual date yet. But if without the evidence to check, all they're going to be able to do is go to the court and say all of her evidence is unproved and tampered with, and you can't use it. And so just get it all tossed. I mean, then if they get it tossed, they won't need to delay anything, will they? Maybe she'll fold. Who knows?
There's another case. I just heard something about that. The
princess. What is this? A case? The Princess in the Tower?
Yeah, something about the two boys in the tower. But there's another case too that you talk about withholding evidence. There's something going on too that they're.
Who is that? This one was Amber Heard. This is a defamation case.
Yeah. There's something. God, I can't remember what it is. There's something about. There's another big case that there's. People are getting in trouble because they won't turn over evidence.
Well,
I can't remember what it is.
Well, when you do, let's check it out. But yes, the Wicked Pickle. This sounds interesting to me. I will admit I'm unfamiliar. Link me, boo, because that sounds good. I mean, you know me, I'll check most things out to see what there is. I mean, I get to it all eventually. And John, I agree. She should be getting charged thousands per day for all of this mess that she's crossed over all this time if she ain't going to turn over that stuff,
Huh. Edward V's two sons who disappeared when he was murdered.
Oh, that's way old. Like, whoa, I'm not going to find any legal documents on that one. That's going to be so we're talking about King Edward. Okay. Edward, Henry Tudor 7. I took when Henry. Yes, I get it. That's some wicked stuff.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
We'd have to look. We're gonna, I could read about it because there's plenty to read about it. There's plenty of books on it for sure. That if I recall, but we'll see. That might be a nice little. Maybe we'll do a Royals mini episode and pull up a couple. Yeah, sounds interesting. Who killed Caesar? There you go. That's another famous one. There are legal documents. Okay, we will try to find. That's like really old. So I'm like wondering what they can have. Who's Pam Hupp, Shay? That I have never heard this one. You heard that name? Well, there's plenty to look into. And on that, with the 1 hour and 15 in, Murder Minions, as always, thank you for sharing our passion with this. Thank you, Jay. It's always a pleasure with you. It makes it much more fun having 2 points of view. We covered a lot this time for updates, and I don't know what we're covering next week, but you guys will know as soon as we do when we post it out. On Sunday, do you know what we're covering?
Not right offhand, but I'll get something to you.
Yep, and we'll put it in the Murder Minion room. How's that? Like once we know what we're covering on like I did today about this, we're going to start doing that so you guys know what we're going to be looking into. So you can bring your questions, be good, if you, and it's the stuff that you like to talk about. But Shay, yeah, I want to know about that person. Well, you know what to do, Shay. Link me, boo. Link me. Okay. On that, everybody, I hope you have a great night. Again, I put the link in there. I'm just going to drop it one more time here for tomorrow morning show for Jay. Okay. And we'll see you all on the YouTube streets really soon. So
have a good one, everybody.
All
Take care
right.
of yourself. Take care of your family.
Yep. Good night, everyone.